Hello there, and welcome to Sleepy Travel Stories. Tonight, we're traveling together to a place where time moves differently, where the modern world feels like a distant memory, and where life follows rhythms set not by clocks, but by the sun, the tides, and the gentle pulse of community. We're journeying to a remote Fijian island, one of those scattered emeralds in the South Pacific where life continues much as it has for generations, where the ocean is both highway and pantry, and where the warmth of the people rivals even the tropical sun. Close your eyes for a moment, if you'd like, and imagine with me. Feel the gentle rocking beneath you as a small boat carries you across turquoise waters. The engine hums its steady song, but over it, you can hear the rush of wind and the occasional splash as the bow meets a wave. The air is thick with salt and warmth, that particular heaviness that tells you the equator is not so far away. Behind you, the main island of Fiji grows smaller, its mountainous silhouette fading into a blue haze where sea and sky become difficult to distinguish. Ahead, your destination emerges slowly from the vastness of the Pacific. At first, it's just a darker line on the horizon, a promise of land in this world of water. But as the boat draws closer, details begin to reveal themselves with the patient unfolding of a good story. The island rises gently from the sea, not with dramatic cliffs, but with a softer introduction. Sandy beaches gleam white and gold against the impossibly blue water. Palm trees lean at various angles, as if they've been frozen mid-dance with the trade winds. Behind them, denser vegetation climbs inland, a tapestry of greens in every shade you can imagine, and some you've never seen before. The water itself changes as you approach. Out in the open ocean, it was a deep, almost navy blue, but now, as the sea floor rises to meet you, the colors shift and layer. There are stripes of turquoise, bands of jade, ribbons of aquamarine. In places, you can see darker patches where coral formations create gardens beneath the surface. Small fish occasionally break the surface, their silver bodies flashing in the sunlight before disappearing back into their liquid world. The boat begins to slow, and the captain cuts the engine. For a moment, there's almost complete silence, broken only by the gentle lap of water against the hull and the distant sound of surf breaking on the reef that encircles the island. This barrier reef is the island's protector, its guardian against the full force of the open ocean. Inside the reef, the waters are calmer, a natural harbor where canoes and small boats can rest safely. As you drift closer to shore, you notice a small group of people gathering on the beach. Children are running, their voices carrying across the water in bursts of laughter and excitement. Adults move more slowly, but their smiles are visible even from this distance. This is not a tourist resort island with its choreographed welcomes. This is a village, a home, a living community that happens to sit on one of the most beautiful pieces of land in the world. The boat's bow scrapes gently against sand, and hands reach out to help pull it higher onto the beach. Your feet touch the shore, and the sand is warm, almost hot through the soles of your shoes. The first thing you notice, beyond the obvious beauty, is the quality of the light. It seems to glow differently here, filtered through humidity and reflected off water in ways that make everything appear softer, dreamlike. Shadows are less harsh. Colors seem more saturated, yet somehow gentler at the same time. Welcome to island time, to a place where days are measured in sunrises and sunsets rather than hours and minutes. Welcome to a village that exists in rhythm with nature, where the ocean's moods dictate the day's activities, where rain is greeted with gratitude rather than complaint, and where the concept of hurry seems almost foreign. Let's explore this world together, slowly, taking our time to notice the small details that make this place unique. The island itself, this particular jewel in the Fijian archipelago, is not large. You could walk its perimeter in perhaps an hour at a relaxed pace, though there's no real reason to hurry. It rises gently from sea level to a modest central height, maybe 40 or 50 meters at its highest point. This is not one of Fiji's dramatic volcanic islands with sharp peaks piercing clouds. Instead, it's a low-lying coral and volcanic mixture, the kind of island that feels welcoming rather than imposing. The coastline varies as you move around the island's edge. On the side facing the prevailing trade winds, the beaches are narrower and the vegetation grows almost to the water's edge. Here, the reef is closer to shore, and you can sometimes see waves breaking white against the coral barrier even on calm days. The eastern shores receive the sunrise, and locals will tell you that this is where you should be at dawn, when the sky transforms into a canvas of pinks and oranges, and the first light touches the ocean with fingers of gold. The western side, sheltered from the trades, is where the main village sits. Here, the beach is wider, a generous curve of sand that extends for several hundred meters. The sand itself is not pure white, but carries a slight warmth to its color, almost cream or very pale gold. It's composed of coral fragments, tiny pieces of shells, and volcanic minerals ground down over centuries by waves and current into this soft powder that squeaks slightly beneath your feet when it's completely dry. Behind the beach, coconut palms stand like sentries, their trunks gracefully curved, their fronds rattling in the constant breeze. These palms are not decorative. They are working trees, essential to island life, providing food, drink, oil, fiber, building materials, and shade. Some lean out over the water at improbable angles, creating perfect spots to sit in the shade while watching the ocean. Children have hung ropes from some of the sturdier branches, creating swings that send them arcing out over the sand with shrieks of delight. Between the palms and the interior of the island, there's a transitional zone where human cultivation meets wild tropical growth. Here, you'll find breadfruit trees, their large, deeply lobed leaves creating dense shade. The breadfruit itself hangs heavy from branches, green and knobbly, each fruit capable of feeding several people when roasted or boiled. Banana plants grow in clusters, their broad leaves torn into strips by strong winds, but continuing to photosynthesize nonetheless. Papaya trees rise on their single trunks, wearing their fruit like clusters of green lanterns that will ripen to orange sweetness. Further inland, the vegetation becomes denser, more jungle-like. Vines cascade from branches. Ferns unfurl their new fronds in shaded spots. The undergrowth is thick with plants whose names you might not know, but whose presence creates this lush, almost prehistoric feeling. Birds call from these depths, some with melodious songs, others with harsh cries that seem to echo through the canopy. The air here is slightly cooler, shaded from the direct sun, and it carries the rich smell of growth, of soil and decomposing leaves, of life in its cycle of renewal. The island experiences two primary seasons, though the transition between them is gentle rather than abrupt. From May through October, the weather is slightly cooler and drier. These are the winter months in the southern hemisphere. Though winter here means daytime temperatures around 26 to 28 degrees Celsius, rather than anything you might associate with cold. The trade winds blow more consistently during these months, keeping humidity lower and bringing occasional cool nights where the temperature might drop to 19 or 20 degrees, cool enough that villagers might pull a light blanket over themselves while sleeping. These drier months are when the island shines brightest in one sense. Skies are often clear, a brilliant blue that seems to stretch into infinity. Rainfall, while still present, comes less frequently, perhaps 1 or 2 showers a week rather than daily. The ocean's visibility is at its best during this season, with water so clear you can see the sandy bottom even in areas where it's 10 or 12 meters deep. This is prime time for fishing, for reef exploration, for enjoying the outdoor life without the concern of afternoon downpours. From November through April, the character shifts slightly. These are the warmer, wetter months, though again, the change is gentle. Temperatures rise a few degrees, typically ranging from 28 to 31 degrees during the day. Humidity increases, giving the air a thick, almost touchable quality. In the late afternoon, clouds often build inland, towering cumulonimbus formations that grow vertical like castles in the sky. Rain comes more frequently, sometimes in brief, intense bursts that drum on palm fronds and send villagers scurrying for cover, more often in longer, gentler showers that settle in for an hour or two, transforming the world into a soft grey watercolour. These rains are life-giving. They refill the rainwater collection tanks that many homes depend on. They make the vegetation even more lush, spurring growth in the gardens where taro and cassava grow. They cool the air temporarily, creating those rare moments when you might actually feel chilled for a minute or two after being caught in a downpour. And they create rainbows, spectacular arcs of color that appear with remarkable frequency, sometimes even double rainbows that span the entire visible sky. The water temperature around the island remains warm throughout the year, ranging from about 26 degrees Celsius in the cooler months to 29 degrees in the warmest. This consistency means that swimming, snorkeling, and fishing are year-round activities, limited more by weather conditions and tides than by seasonal change. The ocean here is not just scenery. It is integral to everything. The source of food, the highway for travel, the playground for children, the workplace for fishermen, and the constant calming presence that dominates every view and sounds its song through every hour of every day. The village itself is arranged with a logic that reflects both tradition and practicality. At its center, slightly inland and shaded by large trees, sits the community meeting house. This structure, called the Pura Ni Vale in Fijian, is larger than the residential homes, with a high thatched roof and open sides that allow breeze to flow through. Its floor is covered with woven mats, and its posts are sometimes carved with traditional designs. This is where important decisions are made, where ceremonies are held, where the chief meets with elders and where visitors are formally welcomed. Surrounding this central building, the residential homes spread out in a loose arrangement. These are the family bouries, smaller versions of the meeting house, though each with its own character. Traditional buures are built with a framework of hardwood posts and beams, lashed together with coconut fiber rope called maji-maji. The walls are sometimes made from woven bamboo or palm fronds, creating a structure that allows air to circulate while still providing privacy and shelter. The roofs are thatched with dried palm fronds, layered in overlapping rows that shed rain remarkably well and provide excellent insulation against the sun's heat. Some of the homes have adopted modern materials while maintaining traditional forms. You might see a house with a corrugated metal roof instead of thatch, or walls made from wood planks rather than woven materials. But the basic design remains similar, an acknowledgement that the traditional architecture evolved over generations to suit this climate perfectly. The raised floors keep inhabitants above any flooding during heavy rains. The high, peaked roofs allow hot air to rise and escape. The open design invites the cooling trade winds to flow through, creating natural ventilation that no air conditioning could improve upon. Around each home, you'll typically find a small, cleared area, swept clean of leaves and debris. This is where daily life happens, where women might sit weaving mats or baskets, where children play, where clothes are hung to dry on lines strung between trees, where food is prepared in outdoor kitchens. Fijian village life is lived largely outside, with the bure serving more as a place to sleep and shelter from rain than as the main arena for daily activities. Between the homes, paths wind through the village, not paved but simply tracks of packed earth worn smooth by countless feet over the years. Chickens wander these paths freely, pecking at the ground, occasionally squawking and flapping when a child runs too close. Dogs lounge in patches of shade, moving only when the sun shifts and their spot becomes too warm. There's no formal fencing, no private property boundaries clearly marked. The village is communal space, understood and respected by all who live there. The rhythm of daily life on the island follows patterns set by light and custom rather than by clock. Dawn comes early, this close to the equator, with sunrise year-round somewhere between 5:30 and 6:30 in the morning. The sky begins to lighten even earlier, with that gradual transformation from black to grey to pearl to the first hints of colour that heralds the coming sun. The roosters, of course, announce dawn long before the sun actually appears. Their crowing starts in the pre-dawn darkness, a cascading effect as each rooster seems to trigger the next, creating a chorus that travels through the village. This might seem like an annoyance to visitors used to quieter mornings, but to the villagers, it's simply the sound of home, as natural and expected as the sound of waves on the shore. As the sky brightens, the village begins to stir. Smoke rises from cooking fires as women start preparing the morning meal. The smell of burning coconut husks mingles with the salt air, creating a scent that's distinctively Fijian, distinctively morning. Children emerge from homes, still rubbing sleep from their eyes, drawn by the promise of breakfast and the new day's adventures. Men who plan to fish often leave early, launching their small boats or outrigger canoes before the sun is fully up. The morning waters are typically calmer, and certain fish are more active in the early hours. You'll see them pushing off from the beach, their silhouettes dark against the brightening sky, paddling or motoring out to their favored fishing grounds, whether that's just beyond the reef or further out in the deeper waters. Breakfast is usually simple but sustaining. It might be leftover root vegetables from the previous night's dinner, reheated and eaten with tea, or perhaps fresh fruit, a papaya split open to reveal its orange flesh and black seeds, eaten with a spoon right out of the skin. Some families might have bread, though this would need to come from the main island, as there's no bakery on this small, remote island. Sweet tea or coffee, drunk from whatever cups or mugs the household possesses, warms the belly and prepares everyone for the day ahead. After breakfast, the day's work begins. Though work here has a different character than in the urban world. There's no commute, no rush hour, no punching of time clocks. Instead, there are tasks that need doing, chores that support the household and the community. Women might gather to work on weaving projects, creating the mats that serve as flooring, as sleeping surfaces, as ceremonial gifts. Their hands move with practiced ease, selecting strands of pandanus or coconut fiber, weaving them in patterns that have been passed down through generations. Men might work on maintaining their boats, checking nets and lines, or tending to any necessary repairs around the village. The community might organize a work party to repair the roof of a bua damaged by recent storms, with everyone pitching in, the work punctuated by jokes and laughter. Breaks taken not by the clock, but when someone decides to fetch drinking coconuts for refreshment. Children, when they're not in school, become little assistants, learning by watching and helping. A young girl might sit beside her grandmother, learning to weave, her first attempts clumsy but encouraged. A boy might help his father check fish traps in the lagoon, learning to read the water, to identify the best spots, to handle the equipment with care. This is how knowledge passes from generation to generation, not through formal classroom instruction, but through participation, observation, and patient practice. The heat builds as morning progresses toward midday. The sun climbs higher and shadows grow shorter and sharper. By 11 or noon, the temperature has reached its peak, and the humidity makes the air feel almost solid. This is not the time for vigorous activity. Instead, it's time to seek shade, to rest, to move slowly. You'll find people gathered under the large trees near the community center, fanning themselves with woven fans, perhaps napping, perhaps just sitting quietly, conserving energy during the hottest hours. Lunch, when it comes, is often light. Perhaps fish, if the morning catch was good, grilled over an open fire and eaten with cassava or taro that's been boiled until soft. Or maybe kokoda, that wonderful Fijian dish of raw fish marinated in citrus juice and coconut cream, refreshing in the heat. Tropical fruit features prominently. Mangoes if they're in season, pineapple, bananas in various varieties, each offering natural sugars and hydration. The afternoon hours move slowly, dreamlike in the heat that seems to shimmer in the air. The lagoon sparkles under the sun, its surface occasionally broken by jumping fish or diving birds, each splash creating expanding rings that catch the light. The reef in the distance appears as a distinct line of white foam, where waves break against the coral barrier with rhythmic consistency, the sound carrying across the water as a constant, gentle thunder. Beyond the reef, the deep blue of open ocean stretches to the horizon, meeting the sky in a line so perfect it might have been drawn with a ruler, so clean and absolute that it speaks to the vastness of this watery world. As the afternoon wears on and the sun begins its descent toward the horizon, the village comes back to life more fully, emerging from the enforced stillness of the hottest hours. This is the time when many daily activities resume with renewed energy. Women might gather water from the communal rainwater tanks, carrying buckets balanced on their heads with practiced ease, or from the well if the island has one, drawing up cool water from underground stores. The well itself might be a gathering place where news is shared and gossip exchanged, where friendships are maintained and community bonds strengthened through these daily interactions. Children, released from the lethargy of mid-afternoon heat, run and play with the boundless energy that seems to be their natural state. Their games are variations on themes universal to childhood, tag and hide and seek and pretend games where they act out stories from village life or from their imaginations. But they're also specifically island games, swimming races in the lagoon, contests to see who can climb highest in certain trees, competitions to crack open coconuts. You might see them diving for shells or sea urchins, swimming with the easy confidence of children who have been in water since before they could walk. Men returning from fishing beach their boats, and the arrival of the fishing boats becomes a small event in the day's schedule. Others come to help pull the boats higher onto the sand, preventing the rising tide from floating them away, and also to see what the day's catch has brought. There's a sense of community in this, in the shared curiosity and the shared benefit when the fishing has been good. People gather around, examining the fish, commenting on size and species, offering congratulations or sympathy depending on whether the catch was abundant or meager. The fish are distributed according to complex rules of reciprocity and family connection, unwritten but thoroughly understood by all, ensuring that everyone has access to protein even if their particular household didn't fish that day. The fisherman's family gets the largest share, certainly, but others receive portions based on relationships, debts of reciprocity from past sharing, and simple need. The quality of light begins to change as evening approaches. The harsh glare of midday softens into something golden, something that makes everything it touches seem to glow from within. The ocean, reflecting this light, can appear almost metallic, like liquid bronze or copper. Shadows lengthen again, bringing relief from the direct sun, and the trade winds, which often die down in the middle of the day, pick up again, bringing movement and relative coolness. This is often when the community gathers more formally. People drift toward the village center, children running ahead, adults following at their own pace. Perhaps there will be a kava ceremony this evening, that traditional gathering where the drink called kava, made from the root of the yakona plant, is prepared and shared. The sevu-sevu ceremony, with its formal greetings and exchange of the bundled kava root, is how visitors are officially welcomed. But kava drinking happens regularly even without visitors, a social glue that binds the community together. The kava bowl, called a tanoa, is a wide wooden vessel, sometimes intricately carved, that sits at the center of the circle. The kava itself has been prepared by placing dried ground kava root in a cloth bag, then squeezing and kneading it in water until the water takes on a muddy brown color. The taste, when you drink it, is earthy, slightly bitter, and unlike anything else. Your lips and tongue might feel slightly numb afterward, a mild anesthetic effect from compounds in the plant. The feeling it produces is one of relaxation, of gentle sedation, though not intoxication in the way alcohol creates. Conversations flow more slowly, more thoughtfully during kava drinking. There's less rush to speak, more patience with silence. The ceremony itself has structure and etiquette. The server, often a young person, fills a small bowl called a bailo from the tanoa and presents it to each person in turn. Before drinking, you clap once, then say bula, then drain the bowl in one go and clap 3 times when finished. Others clap along with you, a rhythmic accompaniment that adds to the ceremonial feeling. The order in which people receive the kava matters, with the chief or highest ranking visitor served first, then others according to social standing and respect. These gatherings are where stories are told, where village business is discussed, where decisions are made. The elders speak and others listen. Young people hear again the stories they've heard many times before. Stories of ancestors, of historical events, of moral lessons wrapped in engaging narratives. This is oral history in action, the way knowledge and culture are preserved and passed down in a society where written records have not always been the primary form of documentation. As darkness falls, it falls quickly this close to the equator. There's not the long twilight of higher latitudes. Instead, the sun touches the horizon and then seems to slide beneath it with surprising speed, and within perhaps 30 minutes, day has transitioned to night. The first stars appear, and then more still, until the sky is filled with them in numbers you rarely see where there's light pollution. The village settles into its evening routine. Dinner is often the main meal of the day, and it might be an elaborate affair, especially if there's something to celebrate or if guests are present. A lovo, the traditional underground oven, produces some of the most memorable meals on these islands. The preparation of a lovo is a community event and an ancient practice that turns cooking into ceremony. The process begins hours before the meal itself. A pit is dug in the ground, perhaps a meter deep and 2 or 3 meters across, depending on how much food will be cooked. Firewood, often coconut husks and pieces of hardwood, is piled in the bottom of the pit, and on top of this, smooth stones, volcanic rocks that will retain heat are placed. The fire is lit and left to burn intensely for several hours. The wood burns down to coals, and the stones become heated to incredible temperatures, glowing with stored thermal energy. While the fire burns, the food is prepared. Whole fish might be cleaned and wrapped in banana leaves. A pig, if it's a particularly special occasion, is cleaned and prepared, its cavity filled with hot stones to help it cook from the inside. Root vegetables, taro, cassava, yams are peeled and prepared. Sometimes there's palusami, a dish made from taro leaves filled with corned beef or fish and coconut cream, all wrapped in banana leaves. Breadfruit might be added, along with sweet potatoes and plantains. Each item is wrapped carefully in layers of banana leaves, creating parcels that will steam in their own juices, protected from direct contact with the hot stones. When the fire has burned down and the stones are ready, the wood and charcoal are quickly raked aside. A layer of banana leaves goes down over the hot stones. Then the food parcels are arranged carefully. Larger items like the pig toward the bottom, smaller items on top. More banana leaves are layered over everything, and then woven mats or burlap sacks. And finally, earth is shoveled over the whole thing, sealing in the heat. Then comes the wait, usually 3 to 4 hours. The food cooks slowly in this sealed, steaming environment. The flavors melding together, the meat becoming incredibly tender, the vegetables soft and sweet. During this waiting time, the preparations for the feast continue. Tables or mats are laid out. Coconuts are opened for their water and cream. Someone might prepare kokoda, the raw fish dish that serves as a perfect appetizer. Children are tasked with setting out plates and utensils, with making sure there's enough seating for everyone. When the time comes to open the lovo, it's a moment of anticipation. The earth is carefully removed, then the mats, then the top layers of banana leaves. Steam rises in clouds, carrying with it the most incredible smells. The food is unwrapped and transferred to serving dishes, and the feast begins. A lovo meal is something special. The meat, whether fish or pork, is so tender it falls apart at the touch of a fork. The slow cooking has made it impossibly juicy, and the smoke from the fire and the earth has imparted a flavor you simply cannot replicate in any conventional oven. The vegetables are sweet, their starch is converted to sugars by the long, slow heat. Everything tastes more intensely of itself, more completely realized. These feasts are communal affairs. Everyone eats together, served family style with large platters passed around. There's no hurry. People eat slowly, savoring the food, taking time between helpings to talk, to laugh, to tell stories. Children eat with the same seriousness as adults, understanding that this meal represents hours of work and centuries of tradition. When everyone has eaten their fill, what remains is carefully divided and sent home with families, ensuring nothing is wasted. After dinner, as bellies are full and the night has fully settled, the village might be treated to a mike, a traditional Fijian performance that combines dance, song, and storytelling. The performers, often young people from the village, dress in traditional costume. For men, this might mean a white sulu or loincloth, their bodies sometimes decorated with traditional charcoal designs. Women might wear coconut fiber skirts over their sulus and flowered garlands. The performance is accompanied by singing and rhythmic percussion. Men might beat out rhythms on bamboo tubes or wooden drums, creating a driving beat that the dancers move to. The movements themselves tell stories, often of historical events, of legendary heroes, of everyday village life. The men's dances are strong and vigorous, with wide stances and forceful gestures, sometimes using props like war clubs or spears. The women's dances are more fluid, with graceful arm movements and hip motions, their hands telling stories, their expressions bringing the narrative to life. Watching a mike under the stars, with firelight flickering and the ocean providing its constant soundtrack in the background, is to be transported. For those few minutes or that hour, you're not just watching a performance, you're witnessing living culture, traditions that have survived colonization and modernization, kept alive by communities like this one that value their heritage and work to pass it on to the next generation. The natural world around the island is as much a part of daily life as the human community. The reef that encircles the island is a complex ecosystem, a city of coral where countless species make their homes. The hard corals, the ones that build the reef structure, create frameworks of calcium carbonate in shapes that range from branching staghorns to massive boulder corals to delicate plates and tables. They grow slowly, millimeters or centimeters per year, but over decades and centuries, they create structures large enough to protect entire islands. Among and on these hard corals, the soft corals add color and movement. These are the ones that wave in the current like underwater gardens, in shades of purple, pink, yellow, orange, and red. They don't build reef structure themselves, but they're filter feeders, removing particles from the water and adding to the overall biodiversity of the reef ecosystem. The fish that live on and around this reef number in the hundreds of species. There are the bright, small fish that you notice first. Clownfish nestled in their anemone homes. Their orange and white stripes almost comically bold. These little characters, rarely longer than your finger, move with jerky enthusiasm, defending their anemone territories with an aggression that seems disproportionate to their size. They dart in and out of the waving tentacles that would sting any other fish, protected by a layer of mucus that makes them immune to the nematocysts. Watch them long enough, and you might see them tending to their eggs, laid carefully on rocks near the anemone's base, fanning them with their fins to keep water flowing over them. Butterfly fish drift in pairs, their patterns of yellows, whites, and blacks making them look like living artwork. These fish mate for life, and you rarely see one without its partner close by. They feed delicately on coral polyps and small invertebrates, their elongated snouts perfect for reaching into crevices. Their patterns aren't just beautiful, they help them identify members of their own species in the busy reef environment. Some species have eye spots near their tails, false targets that might confuse predators about which end is which. Damselfish in blues and golds dart in and out of coral branches, aggressive little defenders of their tiny territories. Despite their small size, often just 5 or 6 centimeters, these fish are fearless, chasing away fish many times their size if they venture too close to their claimed patch of reef. They farm their territories in a sense, cultivating certain types of algae and defending them from other grazers. If you watch closely, you might see them tending their algae gardens, nipping at unwanted growth while allowing their preferred species to flourish. But there are larger residents too. Parrotfish, some as long as your arm, crunch on coral with their beak-like mouths, grazing on algae and inadvertently creating sand with each bite. The sound they make is distinctive, a scraping crunch that you can hear even underwater. These remarkable fish are sequential hermaphrodites, meaning most start life as females and later transform into males. The males are often more brilliantly colored, with blues and greens and pinks that seem too vivid to be real. As they feed, they bite off pieces of coral along with the algae, and their digestive systems extract the algae while grinding the coral rock into fine sand, which they excrete. A single large parrotfish can produce hundreds of pounds of sand per year, literally creating the beaches that make these islands so beautiful. Surgeonfish move in schools. Their blade-like spines near their tails, giving them their common name. These spines, sharp as scalpels, fold flat against the body most of the time, but can be deployed as weapons when the fish feels threatened. They're herbivores primarily, grazing on algae in coordinated groups that move across the reef like underwater lawnmowers. Some species have vivid colors, like the powder blue tang with its brilliant blue body and yellow tail, while others are more subdued in browns and grays. They play crucial roles in reef health, keeping algae from overgrowing and smothering the coral. Groupers, massive and somewhat comical looking, sit in coral caves, their large mouths occasionally yawning wide. These fish can grow enormous, some species reaching lengths of 2 meters and weights of several hundred kilograms. They're ambush predators, sitting motionless for long periods before exploding into action to gulp down passing fish. Their mouths can expand to enormous size, creating a vacuum that sucks in prey. Despite their fierce hunting capabilities, they often appear lazy and approachable, and some individual groupers in protected areas become friendly enough that divers give them names and recognize them as individuals visit after visit. Moray eels peer out from crevices, their heads swaying rhythmically as they breathe. Their appearance, with their constantly open mouths showing sharp teeth, makes them look menacing. But this is simply how they breathe, pumping water over their gills. Most are not aggressive unless provoked, preferring to hide in their holes during the day and hunt at night. They have poor eyesight, but an excellent sense of smell, and they hunt by scent, following chemical trails in the water to locate prey. Some species form unusual hunting partnerships with groupers, the eel going into crevices where the grouper can't fit, flushing out prey that the grouper then catches, or vice versa. The villagers know this reef intimately. They know where certain fish gather, where the channels through the coral allow passage for boats, where the fishing is best at different tides. They know which areas are recovering from storm damage and should be left alone, which spots are reliable for finding octopus, where the big groupers hide. This knowledge is practical and essential, but it's also relationship, a connection to this underwater world that sustains them. Traditional fishing methods are still used, though modern equipment has supplemented them. Men fish from small boats with hand lines, feeling the pull and weight of fish through the line itself, knowing from experience and sensitivity, when to pull and when to let out more line. Others wade in the shallows with spears, moving slowly, waiting for the right moment to strike. Nets are set across channels, positioned to intercept fish, moving with the tide. There are also fish traps, woven structures placed in strategic locations and checked daily. The fish swim in but can't easily find their way out. And the trap's design means they're not injured while waiting to be collected. It's a sustainable method, allowing the release of any fish that are too small or not desired, ensuring that fishing pressure remains at levels the reef can support. The relationship with the ocean is not just practical, but spiritual. The sea is respected, sometimes feared, always acknowledged as powerful beyond human control. There are taboo areas, taboo in Fijian, where fishing is forbidden, either permanently or seasonally. These traditional conservation practices, developed long before Western marine biology, have helped maintain fish populations and reef health over generations. Certain fish, or shellfish, might be protected during their spawning seasons. Particular areas might be left alone to allow recovery after intensive fishing or storm damage. The ocean's moods change with the weather, the season, the phase of the moon. The villagers read these signs instinctively. They know when strong winds are coming by the color of the sky at sunset, by the behavior of seabirds, by the feel of the air itself. They understand how the tides affect the reef, when it's safe to cross certain areas and when it's dangerous. This knowledge isn't written in books or taught in classrooms. It's learned through experience, through watching, through listening to those who have lived here longer. On land, the vegetation provides for the community in countless ways. The coconut palms, which grow prolifically on this island, are truly the tree of life. A single tree can produce 50 to 80 coconuts per year for decades. Young coconuts provide drinking water, refreshing and sterile, perfect for hydration on hot days. The soft, jelly-like meat inside young coconuts is eaten fresh, a sweet treat. As the coconuts mature, the water becomes less sweet, but the meat thickens and hardens, and this mature coconut meat is grated and squeezed to produce coconut cream and coconut milk, essential ingredients in countless dishes. The fibrous husk of the coconut is not wasted. It's processed to create rope, maji, used in construction and countless other applications. The shells themselves become containers, cups, scrapers, fuel for cooking fires. Even the palm fronds serve purposes. When green, they are woven into temporary shelters or coverings. When dried, they become roofing thatch, layered in overlapping rows that shed rain remarkably well. The trunk of a fallen coconut palm becomes timber for construction or furniture. Breadfruit trees, with their enormous lobed leaves, produce the large, green, knobby fruits that are a staple food. A mature tree can produce 150 to 200 fruits per year, and the tree can remain productive for decades. Breadfruit is incredibly versatile. When underripe and firm, it's starchy like a potato and can be boiled, baked, or fried. As it ripens, it becomes sweeter and softer and can be eaten more like a sweet potato. The wood of the breadfruit tree is used in construction, and traditionally it was carved into bowls and other utensils. Banana plants, which are actually large herbs rather than true trees, grow in clumps around the village. They produce not just the familiar yellow bananas, but also plantains, the larger, starchier varieties that must be cooked before eating. After a banana plant produces its fruit, the plant dies back, but new shoots emerge from the base, ensuring a continuous supply. The large banana leaves, often a meter or more in length, are used to wrap food, both for cooking in the lovo and for general storage and transport. Taro, called dalo in Fijian, grows in wetter areas. Its large, heart-shaped leaves, distinctive and easily recognized. These leaves can grow remarkably large, sometimes 60 centimeters or more in width, creating natural umbrellas in the rain. Both the root and the leaves are edible, though they must be cooked thoroughly to break down the calcium oxalate crystals that would otherwise cause intense irritation to the mouth and throat. The root, when boiled or baked, transforms from hard and starchy to soft and almost creamy in texture, with a subtle, slightly sweet flavor that makes it immensely satisfying. It's filling in a way that goes beyond calories, the kind of food that sustains you through hours of physical work. The leaves, called roru, are cooked with coconut cream to create a dish that's rich and flavorful, somewhat like a very hearty, creamed spinach, but with its own distinct character. The combination of the slightly bitter greens with the sweet, rich coconut cream creates a balance that's become beloved throughout the Pacific Islands. Cassava, also called tapioca or manioc, is another root crop of tremendous importance. It's easy to grow, remarkably forgiving of poor soil, and irregular rainfall, making it a reliable backup when other crops might struggle. The plant itself looks somewhat like a small shrub with hand-shaped leaves and woody stems. But underground, the roots swell into substantial tubers that can be harvested as needed. This is one of cassava's great advantages. It stores well in the ground, meaning you don't have to harvest everything at once and then worry about storage and spoilage. Instead, you dig up what you need when you need it, and the rest continues to wait underground until required. Its starchy roots can be prepared in multiple ways: boiled until soft and served like potatoes, baked until the outside crisps slightly, grated and mixed with coconut to create puddings, or even processed into flour for a kind of flatbread. While it's perhaps less celebrated than taro, cassava has saved communities through droughts and crop failures. Its reliability, earning it an honored place in the island's agricultural pantheon. Among the food plants, there are also countless other species that serve various purposes, each playing its role in the complex web of island sustenance. Papaya trees produce their large fruits year-round in this climate, a constant source of vitamins and sweetness. The tree itself is unusual, more like a large herbaceous plant than a true tree, with a single trunk that's soft and hollow and can grow remarkably quickly, sometimes reaching fruiting height in less than a year. The fruits hang in clusters just below where the leaves emerge, starting green and hard, gradually ripening to yellow or orange, their flesh transforming from white and crunchy to soft and sweet. A ripe papaya cut open to reveal its orange flesh studded with black seeds, eaten with a spoon while sitting in the shade on a hot afternoon, is one of those simple pleasures that needs no enhancement. Mango trees, when in season, provide fruit in such abundance that it sometimes falls to the ground uneaten, though it's gathered quickly by children and chickens and the occasional pig. The mango season is a time of particular celebration, when the trees hang heavy with fruit, when the air is perfumed with that distinctive mango scent, sweet and slightly resinous. Children learn early how to identify which mangoes are perfectly ripe. The slight give when you press gently, the fragrance, the way the stem end smells sweet. They climb the trees with easy confidence, selecting the best fruits, sometimes eating them right there in the branches, juice running down their arms, faces sticky and happy. Pineapples grow in sunny spots, their spiky leaves protecting the developing fruit at the center of the rosette. Unlike tree fruits, pineapples grow surprisingly low to the ground, and watching one develop is like watching a flower slowly transform into food. The plant sends up a spike from its center, and this spike gradually swells and transforms into the familiar fruit with its geometric pattern of hexagonal segments. When perfectly ripe, a pineapple is almost painfully sweet, its juice acidic enough to tingle on the tongue, but balanced by intense sweetness. Herbs and spices grow in kitchen gardens, small plots near homes where the most frequently used plants are kept close at hand. Ginger, with its knobby rhizomes underground and its tall, reed-like leaves above, grows in clumps, spreading gradually. The root is harvested as needed, a piece dug up, and the rest left to continue growing. Turmeric grows similarly. Its rhizomes are brilliant orange inside, despite their brown exterior. Lemongrass forms tall, fountain-like clumps, its leaves releasing their distinctive citrus fragrance when bruised or cut. These aren't just flavorings, but living pharmacies, each plant containing compounds that have been used medicinally for generations. The traditional knowledge of plant medicine, called Wai Ni Mate Vaka Viti, remains alive in the village. The elders know which plants can treat various ailments. Certain leaves, when chewed or brewed into tea, help with stomach troubles. Others reduce fever or ease pain. The sap of some trees has antiseptic properties. Young guava leaves are known to help with digestive issues. Ginger root is grated and mixed with water as a general health tonic, though its taste is strong enough to make children grimace. This medicinal knowledge is practical and has been tested over generations. In a place where access to modern medical facilities might require a boat journey of hours to the main island, the ability to treat minor ailments with local plants is essential. But it's also cultural heritage, a connection to ancestral knowledge, a way of understanding the natural world as pharmacy and partner rather than just scenery. The island's bird life provides a constant soundtrack. Seabirds, terns and noddies, and frigate birds wheel overhead, their cries sharp and evocative. They nest on small offshore islets or in trees on less inhabited parts of the island, and they fish the reef and open ocean, diving for small fish, their movements almost too quick to follow. Land birds, too, make their presence known, though some are shy and more often heard than seen. The call of certain birds might signal rain approaching or mark the time of day With the same reliability as a clock, the night brings its own sounds and rhythms. After the evening meal and any entertainment, families retire to their bureaus. Without electric lights, the darkness is profound in a way that's difficult to describe to someone who has always lived with artificial illumination. The stars are overwhelming. The Milky Way, a bright band across the sky, planets visible as bright points that don't twinkle like stars do. The ocean continues its work at night, waves breaking on the reef in a rhythm that's both constant and ever-changing, a white noise that lulls people to sleep. Occasionally, you might hear the splash of a larger fish jumping, or the call of a night bird. Rain, when it comes, announces itself first with the sound of drops on leaves and thatch, a pattering that builds in intensity, then sometimes fades away as quickly as it came. Inside the bureaus, people sleep on mats laid directly on the floor or on low wooden platforms. Mosquito nets, essential in these tropical latitudes, drape from the ceiling, creating gauzy tents that provide protection without blocking the breeze. The night air cools only slightly, from the day's 30 degrees to perhaps 25 or 26, still warm but less oppressive. The trade winds, if they're blowing, flow through the open structure of the bureau, providing natural ventilation. Sunday, on the island, has a different character than the other days of the week. This is the day of rest, and also the day when the village's Christian faith is most outwardly expressed. Nearly all indigenous Fijians are Christian, with Methodism being the most common denomination, though there are also Catholics and members of other churches. The church building in the village is typically one of the sturdier structures, built with the same care and communal effort that might go into a chief's house. On Sunday morning, the lali drum summons people to worship. This traditional drum, carved from a large log, produces a resonant, carrying tone that can be heard across the entire island. The sound is rhythmic, insistent, a call that cannot be ignored. Families emerge from their homes in their best clothes. Men might wear dress Zulus and collared shirts. Women wear long dresses or skirts and blouses, often in bright patterns. Children are scrubbed and neat, their Sunday best a point of pride. The service itself blends Christian liturgy with Fijian cultural elements. The hymns are sung in Fijian, and the harmonies are extraordinary. Fijians have a natural gift for harmony singing, and the church becomes filled with voices, different parts weaving together, creating music that seems to vibrate in your chest. The sermon is delivered in Fijian, often passionate and engaged, with call and response elements where the congregation affirms points with exclamations of agreement. After the church service, Sunday is for rest and family. No kava is drunk until the afternoon service is complete. No significant work is done. Instead, people might nap or sit in the shade talking quietly, or children might play gentle games rather than running and roughhousing as they do on other days. There's a peaceful quality to Sunday, a collective exhale, a communal acknowledgement that rest is as important as work. As your time on the island extends from days to weeks, you begin to notice the deeper patterns. You start to feel the rhythm of tides, not just observing them, but sensing them. You wake naturally as the sun rises, without needing an alarm. You know by the smell of the air when rain is coming. You recognize individual people, not just by face, but by gait, by laugh, by the particular way they have of greeting you. The children, initially shy, begin to approach more boldly. They might teach you words in Fijian, delighting in your pronunciation attempts. They might invite you to join their games, or show you their favorite places, secret spots where the best shells can be found, or where a particular tree is perfect for climbing. Through them, you see the island through fresh eyes, full of wonder and possibility. The elders, too, might begin to share more freely. An old man might gesture for you to sit beside him and, through a combination of limited shared language and generous gestures, tell you about his life, about storms he's weathered, about fish he's caught, about changes he's seen over decades. An elderly woman might show you her weaving, explaining through demonstration the techniques her mother taught her, techniques her grandmother taught her mother. An unbroken chain of knowledge passing through generations. You begin to understand the concepts that underpin island life. The idea of kerikeris, the communal sharing that means if someone needs something you have, you give it without expectation of immediate reciprocal. The understanding that the community's well-being supersedes individual gain. The acceptance that nature sets the agenda, that plans must be flexible because weather and tide and season have final say. There's a particular Fijian concept called Sole Solavaki, which refers to communal work undertaken for the benefit of the village. When a project needs doing, whether it's repairing a brewery, building a new structure, clearing land, or constructing a seawall, the community comes together. There's no payment involved, no formal contract. Instead, everyone contributes what they can. the strong doing heavy work, the old providing wisdom and direction, the children helping in small ways and learning by watching. Food and kava are shared during breaks, and the work becomes social occasion as much as labor. As weeks pass, you might find yourself falling into the rhythm completely. You wake early, not because you set an alarm, but because your body has adjusted to the light. You know which families fish on which days, and you look for them returning in late afternoon. You anticipate the evening gathering, looking forward to the conversations, to the shared kava, to the stories. You recognize the subtle signs of changing weather, the way the wind shifts before rain, the particular quality of light that means a storm is building beyond the horizon. You learn to eat differently, to appreciate the subtle flavors of simply prepared food, to understand how kokoda can be refreshing in a way no dish with dozens of ingredients could match. You learn to love the sweetness of a ripe papaya, eaten in the shade with juice running down your chin. You discover that fish grilled minutes after being caught, seasoned with nothing but salt and perhaps a squeeze of lime, can be perfect in its simplicity. You begin to move more slowly, not from laziness, but from wisdom. In this heat, efficiency means not wasting energy on rushing. You learn the Fijian sense of time, where punctuality is less important than presence, where being late to a gathering isn't rude because the gathering will wait, will start when everyone arrives, will unfold in its own time. The modern world, with its constant connectivity and digital noise, begins to feel remote, almost unreal. Here, there's no cell phone signal, no internet, no television. News from the outside world comes occasionally on a radio or through conversations with people arriving from the main island, but it feels distant, less urgent. What matters is here and now, the tide coming in, the fish being cleaned, the child learning to weave, the rain clouds building, the sunset painting the sky. You might find yourself having moments of profound peace, standing on the beach at sunset, watching the light change, listening to the waves, feeling the warm sand under your feet and the warm air on your skin, and experiencing a stillness that goes deeper than simple relaxation. It's a fundamental settling, a sense of being exactly where you should be, exactly when you should be there, with no need to be anywhere else or do anything else. The connection to nature becomes visceral in a way that's difficult to explain, but impossible to ignore. You're not insulated from the natural world by air conditioning and artificial light and concrete and glass. Instead, you're immersed in it, You feel the sun's heat directly. You're cooled by the same winds that bend the palms. You're wetted by the same rain that waters the crops. You fall asleep to the sound of the ocean and wake to the sound of roosters and birds. You are, in a very real sense, part of the ecosystem rather than separate from it. This connection brings an understanding of sustainability that's not theoretical but lived. You see directly that there's a finite amount of fish in the reef, that taking too many threatens next year's catch. You understand that water must be conserved during dry spells because the tanks will not refill until the rains return. You learn that nothing is wasted because resources are precious, that coconut husks become fuel, that fish bones become fertilizer, that old clothes become cleaning rags, and eventually, when they're too tattered for even that, components of compost. The community's relationship with each other too becomes clearer. You see that this interconnectedness is not just nice in theory, but essential in practice. When someone is ill, others bring food for the family. When a roof needs repair, many hands make light work. When there's cause for celebration, everyone shares in it. When there's grief, it's carried collectively. This isn't altruism in an abstract sense, but enlightened self-interest. The understanding that my well-being and your well-being and the community's well-being are inseparable. As your time on the island begins to draw toward its end, you might find yourself surprisingly reluctant to leave. This place, which initially seemed so foreign, so different from everything you knew, has become familiar, comfortable, even dear. The people you met as strangers have become friends, and the children who were shy now greet you with hugs and easy smiles. The daily rhythms that once seemed exotic now feel natural. The food you wondered if you could eat has become food you crave. On your last evening, there might be a farewell gathering. The village would prepare a lovo in your honor. The last taste of this particular magic that happens when food and fire and earth combine. There would be kava, of course, and speeches, formal and heartfelt. Someone would thank you for coming, for showing interest in their way of life, for respecting their traditions. You would try to express your own gratitude, knowing that words are insufficient to convey what this experience has meant. The Mike performers would dance again, and you would watch with eyes that have learned to see not just the movements, but the meanings. The songs would wash over you in a language you still understand only a little, but carrying emotions that need no translation. And somewhere in the middle of it all, watching the firelight flicker on familiar faces, hearing the ocean in the background and the breeze in the palms, you might feel a bittersweet ache, the knowledge that you will leave this place, but that this place somehow will never entirely leave you. The morning of your departure would come too quickly. Your bag would be packed with the few possessions you brought. Lighter now, because you've left some things behind as gifts, given away clothes or books or small items to people who appreciated them. But you carry more than you came with, intangible things that weigh nothing but mean everything. You carry memories of sunsets and storms, of laughter and songs, of shared meals and quiet moments. You carry understanding that's deeper than knowledge, lessons about living lightly, about community, about finding richness in simplicity. The boat that will take you back to the main island waits at the beach. The same hands that pulled it ashore when you arrived now push it back out into the shallows where the engine can be started. People gather to say goodbye, hands waving, voices calling blessings. As the boat pulls away and the island begins to recede behind you, you watch it shrink back into that distant green line on the horizon, and you understand that you're not the same person who arrived however many weeks ago. The modern world awaits, with its demands and its conveniences, its complications and its comforts. You'll return to it, slide back into those familiar patterns, reconnect with that familiar life. But something has shifted. You've seen another way, experienced another rhythm, understood that the way you've always known is not the only way, perhaps not even the best way for everything. You carry with you the memory of a place where time moves differently, where community matters more than individual achievement, where contentment isn't purchased but cultivated through connection and simplicity. You carry the sound of waves on a reef, the taste of kokoda, the feeling of sand under bare feet, the sight of stars undiminished by light pollution. You carry the warmth of genuine hospitality, the patience of people who understand that some things cannot be rushed, the wisdom of those who have learned to live in balance with their environment. And perhaps in the times ahead when modern life feels overwhelming, when the pace seems too fast and the demands too many, you'll close your eyes and transport yourself back, if only for a moment, to that remote Fijian island. You'll remember the simplicity, the clarity, the peace. You'll hear again the laughter of children playing on the beach, the call of roosters at dawn, the singing in the church, the splash of fish breaking the surface. You'll taste again the food prepared with care and shared with generosity. you'll feel again the particular quality of tropical air, heavy with warmth and salt and the promise of rain. And in remembering, you might find a kind of peace, a touchstone to return to, a reminder that beneath all the complexity we create, life can be simple, rich, meaningful, and good. That happiness doesn't require wealth or possessions, but can be found in connection, in community, in aligning yourself with natural rhythms, in appreciating what you have rather than always wanting more. The island continues its life, of course, with or without your presence. The sun still rises and sets. The tides still flow in and out. Fish still swim in the reef, and coconuts still fall from palms. Children still play, and elders still share wisdom. The village still gathers for kava and church, still prepares lovos for special occasions, still welcomes visitors with genuine warmth. Life goes on as it has for generations, as it will for generations to come, woven into the rhythms of ocean and season and tradition. And you, carrying your memories like treasures, return to your world changed by the experience, enriched by what you've learned, grateful for what you've been given, and perhaps a little nostalgic for a place where life, in all its challenge and beauty, was lived fully, presently, connected to earth and sea and to each other in ways we've largely forgotten, but might, if we're lucky and mindful, remember again. If you've enjoyed this journey to the remote Fijian island, and if these words have brought you a sense of peace or transported you, even briefly, to somewhere warm and welcoming and wonderfully different, I'd be grateful if you take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps me continue creating these sleepy travel stories, these gentle explorations of the world's beautiful places, these bedtime journeys that I hope bring you comfort and rest and perhaps inspiration for your own future travels, whether in dreams or reality. Until next time, sleep well, rest deeply, and may your dreams be as beautiful and peaceful as a sunset over a remote Fijian island where the ocean meets the sky in perfect harmony, and life unfolds in rhythms set by nature and enriched by community and warmed by the genuine kindness of people who understand that we are all connected, all part of the same beautiful, fragile, precious world. Good night, and thank you for traveling with me.